The comments and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not reflect those of their employers, friends, families, or casual acquaintances.
The following program is brought to you in living color on A2B. Hello and welcome to SwimTalk on A2B Radio. Come join us as we dive into the exciting world of competitive swimming with coach and athlete interviews, conversations with interesting and significant people in our sport, and commentary that is better than good. It's adequate. We'll get underway right after this. We're going to skip the awkward and gratuitous commercial hustle that we normally plague you with at the start of most podcasts and get right down to business with part 2 of our interview with swim coach and entrepreneur extraordinaire Patrick Henry, as we continue hearing about his incredible business, Swim Coach Staffing Solutions. If you haven't listened to part 1, you ought to stop right now and go listen to it before enjoying this better than mediocre follow-up. If you are really a glutton for punishing your ears and missing an opportunity for a nap, go back further and listen to our first interrogation and browbeating of Coach Patrick Henry in the Jurassic period of SwimTalk's evolution. In this conclusion to a fun and wide-ranging visit with Pat, we hear about how to take the reins of an interim coaching position without disrupting the flow and general scheme of things, while still elevating and enhancing the program until the new coach arrives. We also venture into an enjoyable discussion of general coaching philosophies, focusing on the really important non-technical aspects of coaching and teaching, considering more extensively the consideration and critical value of teaching life lessons, and top it off with why we need to treat our jobs as a profession and acting and presenting ourselves likewise. With all that having been said, let's jump right in as Bob asked Pat about how he dealt with preparing a team for some big meets as an interim coach.
24 trial cuts are out, plans for making cuts, where they're going to perform their best at Indy. All that stuff is starting to fall into place at these programs. So a coaching change, we don't want it to derail those plans. So what would the new or interim coach do when they take the reins? And it's funny because you said they use these words. Are we going to stick with it, tweak it, or rewrite it?
Right. I was in that situation because I started coaching these kids in January. Trials
for the
is
21 trials, yeah.
Trials is in June, and I'm coaching them in January. Let's just say they were not in the shape I wanted them in when I walked in day one to get them ready for trials. The advantage I had there was I'm mimicking the workouts that Kathy McGee had written. And the first 2-3 weeks I was there, before every workout, I would write the workouts and send them to Kathy and to Megan for them to approve, tweak, whatever, before I administer those practices. And after about 2 weeks, Kathy said, "Why do you keep sending us these workouts?" And I'm like, "So you can tell me if I'm off base or what's going on." She's like, "Go with it. You're fine." So I didn't have to change my style a lot with those kids. And then I just ramped up some of the technical ends of it, streamlines, body position, head position, angles, pitch, through the workouts. And that's where we made some real progress. And it was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's a challenge because each situation's different and you've got to evaluate it and make the decision on what's best for you, what's best for the kids. Just sit down and talk to the coaches and talk to everybody and say, here's what I'm seeing and here's where we need to be if we're going to be doing this. You know, there is the philosophy of if you want something you've never had, you've got to be willing to do things you've never done. And so if you want more at trials, you've got to be willing to step it up and do more. So we're going to do that. It's not going to be a big change, but it's going to be an enhancement of what we're doing. And buckle your seatbelts. Let's get to work. Let's go. It's smoother when you communicate your vision, your observations, your questions, and say, I don't know everything, but here's what I do know. And this is what we're going to start with. And we'll go from there. I think it helps when they realize that you are human and you're trying as hard as you can.
And you're probably asking questions as you're going in to get the lay of the land, and they got to appreciate that you want input.
I would drive 30 minutes to get to morning practice, and practice would start at 5. And so I would be leaving where I live at 4 o'clock because I like to be there 30 minutes before practice. I was always the first one there. And there was one girl on the team, and one time she decided she was going to get there before me. And so she was trying to get there before, and she was like, I didn't know it was a contest at the time between us. And she was like, I gave up because I never could do it. And I was like, I want you guys to know how committed I am to your swimming. And if you know I'm a constant, I'm going to be there. I'm there. And because they would always get there, to their credit, they would always get there at least 15 minutes before practice. And they all had a routine that they would do at meets and at practices before they ever got in the pool, of activation of the legs and the arms and different joints. And they would activate themselves before they ever got in the pool. And you didn't even have to say a word. They just did it. They had their own stretch cords and bands, and, and they would be talking, and they'd be all doing their little routines. They all had a little bit different routines, but they were responsible athletes who took care of business. And so I knew they were going to be there at least 15 minutes beforehand. So I had to be there before that.
That's good.
And they see that, and they respect that. They understand that. When I go to meets, I would be the first one there. At summer champs, I would be the first one there. I'd get the heat sheet. I'd highlight it. I'd take pictures of it. I'd send it to everybody. They hadn't even left the hotel yet. About what lanes, what heats they're going to be in, what the relays are for the day and everything. And one of them was like, what time do you get here? I go, well, let's just say the janitors know me well.
but isn't that what they're going to come to expect when they get to the higher level? Let's say the collegiate or a national team or a junior national team. That's what those coaches are doing. They're getting a little preview from you.
What I would do, practice starts at 5 o'clock in the morning. What we would do is all the clocks are synchronized to the time of day. And so at 4:59:00, we would start practice. And they'd say, why do we start practice 1 minute early? I said, because if we were on time, we'd be late. And they go, got it. I mean, so at 4:59:00, boom, I got kids jumping into every lane.
That's awesome. Yep. Hey, over the decades, we see lots of changes in the way we coach our athletes. What's something you've noticed that we haven't deviated from, a sort of absolute in our sport that has not changed over the decades, your 40-some years in coaching?
At SwimMac, we had, I think, about 23 coaches on the staff between the two facilities. At New Trier, we had about 13 or 14. The ones who had passion and the ones who were, I would say, hey, so-and-so's got this. Can you cover this practice? Yes, of course. Can you come in early? Yeah, okay, no problem. Those are guys who are going places. And It's true today, and it's true 40 years ago. When I used to teach business classes, I would always tell the kids, be your boss's go-to guy. Even if you're swamped, if he's got a big heavy-duty project, go volunteer for it and kick butt doing it. Because the more he knows that you're his go-to guy, when he gives out promotions, guess who he's going to promote? You.
Right.
So be that guy.
Right. You're looking for the
there.
Whatever it takes guy and gal, and not the shortcut guy or gal.
And whether that's the swimmer, the parent, the administrator, or the coach, that passion is what leads to success. Now, I got a question when I was at SwimMac and I first went there, and they said, okay, everybody's got their little niche group that they're just their bread and butter. They could do it with their eyes closed. It's their favorite little group, whether it be the 13, 14 developmentals or the novice kids or the senior elite kid. What's your favorite group? And I said, you got to understand, I'm somewhat of an anomaly because I've always owned my own team, and we've never been huge because I want to know everybody's name. So we were never huge, And so I've coached everything from novice up to, I run swim lessons to the Olympic trial qualifiers. And I said, I don't mean this in an egotistical way, but my best group is the ones in the water in front of me, because I love each of the different levels, and they all have different things they need to be working on. And you get into that tune and you run with it and have a blast. So I like to coach all the different levels, literally from swim lessons to Olympic trials, because that's swimming and that's kids, and that's what we're in this business for.
Great comment. I'll answer that question for me, even though it hasn't been asked. But, I'm working with high school team, lower level ability in a lot of cases, where we have to put fins on them just to get them from one end of the pool to the other. And I'm doing summer team for, I guess, about the 38th summer. Tiger Swim Club. I'm the lead coach for the 11 and older. So we have a 13-18 group and we have an 11-12 group. And then I give private lessons to some 9-10s. And I'm enjoying every one of them. And like you said, Pat, the group in front of you is your favorite group. Well, the kids I'm working with are my favorite kids. And we're just having a ball. I used a quote at the Celebration of Life memorial service for Lanny Landtroop last week. And the quote was something along the lines of, youth sports needs to be fun, and it also needs to teach life lessons. I just think that's
Correct.
A great directive. And
I agree.
And so I'm just really enjoying this, and I'm glad to hear you say that, your favorite group is the one you've got in front of you, because I think we probably all feel that way if we're honest.
I've had assistant coaches who go like, I can't coach the novices. They drive me crazy. They make me want to pull my fingernails out with pliers. And I'm like,
Let me throw this in real quick. When we were in the early years of Tiger Swim Club back in the mid 80s, I had one summer where I could not get enough assistant coaches. And I actually had to get in the water with the 6 and under group. And I got to tell you, I had more fun and learned more about coaching with those 6 and unders. We don't know if it's true or not, but we always say, Confucius said, when one person teaches another, 2 people learn. And I've always felt that. And when I had to get in the water with those little 6 and unders, you had to change the way of coaching, because you have to explain everything. And I think when we start thinking about how to explain what we think should be understood, it brings us to a higher level of teaching, I think.
I agree. And I try to do a lot of peer coaching for that very reason. And when you get some of the older kids teaching swim lessons to some of the younger kids, the older kids' swim lessons or flip turns get better too, because they're going, oh yeah, it's hands here, tight. Oh, I got to make sure I'm doing that too. And so, yeah, I totally agree with you, Dana.
But you remember one of the quotes in the Eddie Reese book that we used was when Eddie said he was having the guys coach each other, and it bothered him because he thought they were paying more attention to each other than they were to him and listening better.
I think that's everywhere.
No, it's true. And it's coaching, I've said this forever, but coaching is about building relationships with swimmers and families and parents and coaches. And, it's all about building relationships, and that comes through trust, and it comes through consistency, and it comes through, character, doing it right, even if nobody's watching, and everybody knowing that and doing that. And those are the values that we teach through what we do and how we do it and how we respond. Something goes on. The first thing the kids do is they look to the coach to see how the coach is going to respond to that, a DQ or whatever. Is the coach going to blow a gasket, or is he going to be professional? Is he going to handle, the kids watch this stuff. They learn this stuff. And that's what I don't think everybody thinks about. And is that we're here for more than just, we're here for fast times. Don't ever get me wrong. We are, but we're here for more than just fast times. We're here to learn these life lessons, the goal setting, the teamwork, the working in a team environment, and the being out there by yourself and being confident enough to be the guy. Put me an anchor coach. I want that. I can do this, and stepping up. And you learn these things growing up, and it allows you to do that as you get into adulthood, because you've got a history and you believe in yourself, and it gives you the confidence to do it. And that's what we do.
And what you're saying about explaining things, when your brother John was swimming with Eddie Reese back in 1978, 79, Paul Bergen was the women's coach there. And Paul Bergen used to have a dry erase board out on the pool deck, and he wrote down what their warm-up was going to be. And he said, today we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. And each one of those lines, he says, because we're going to do this, because, and this is the goal of doing this. Explaining things, not just get in and swim your 10-200s warm-up. And so the explaining of things is always really important. And I've got to observe a coach down in Bay City, Texas. When I go down and visit.
Talk about the one that blows his gasket now and then.
Yeah. Oh, I've never seen that. But one thing that Button does down there is I observe, we've been down this past school year. I took my team from St. John 23 down there for 3 different times. And every time I watch Button, he's always explaining why they need to do something, why the streamlining works, how you count your strokes, how long you stay underwater, how you pick up your team area when you're done, how you shake
Absolutely.
hands. Yeah. It all goes back to teaching life lessons.
How do we line up for the Star-Spangled Banner? Shortest to tallest with our warm-ups on at attention.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And these are skills we teach them. You see the well-coached teams. I remember this was years ago, and I was at Grapevine, and we were over at Trinity High School. We're warming up for district. And my athletic director, God love him, he was a wonderful man, but he'd be the first to say, I don't really know anything about swimming. And I said, Ted, that's fine.
That's pretty common.
Yeah. So he's watching warm up. We have a standard warm up that we're doing that just a few hand signals, very little speaking because we rehearsed it so many times.
Yep.
A lot of it's run through the captains and this and that. And I'm on deck just doing little stroke corrections and little head position and just talking to little technical things like this. And then after warm up, I went up in the stands and sat with him, and he goes, I tell you what, I don't know anything about swimming, but this I know. I said, what's that? He goes, you won warm up. I go, what do you mean? He goes, when all the other teams stop and are watching you warm up, you won warm up. You're in their head. You're there in your shirt and tie. Nobody else is dressed that way. You stand out and everybody's just amazed.
You said shirt and tie. Look at your monitor and look at my avatar.
I see that.
That was at the state meet 4 years ago. I was the only coach on deck wearing a dress shirt and a tie. And I had a couple coaches come over at the end of the meet said, we all probably ought to do that.
I think all three of us dress for finals, don't we? Shirt and tie for...
We do.
For high school meets, every single high school meet I ever attended, from a dual meet to an invitational to state finals, I always wore a start shirt and a tie. And here's why.
Let me guess. If it's good enough for Tom Landry, it's good enough for the rest of us, right?
Well, when the kids are swimming and I'm wearing a white shirt with a red tie, they can find me in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
And the parents you're dealing with, guess what they wear to work? Shirt and tie. You wear a shirt and tie, you get a different respect from the parents than you would if you show up wearing T-shirts and flip-flops.
Almost 50 years ago, I heard Jack Nelson speak at an Asker conference. And one of the things he said was, dress professionally.
Yes.
If we want to be treated like professionals, then by golly, dress professionally. And then he muttered under his breath and used deodorant.
Yeah. I think my first probably 4 or 5 years of coaching club, I never wore jeans. I didn't want to be looking like that kid, and so I wore khakis and I wore polo shirts and I wore dress shirts and, for every day for practice and to get more respect from the parents. Did it work? Heck, I don't know. But I did.
I'm guilty of not dressing up until finals.
And then you show it's important. I get that too.
There's a difference, right? Prelims, we wanted to get through. No 9th places, no 17th places, we hope. And then finals, now we're really ready to roll.
My kids appreciated it. My parents appreciated it. My administrators appreciated it. Started doing it, and I just kept doing it.
We need more of that.
The name of my business is Swim Coach Staffing Solutions. My email is swimcoachstaffingsolutions@yahoo.com. I get to help teams when you walk into a room and you just feel the tension of they're going, oh God, we don't have a coach, and you walk in and you just take that edge off and they're like, okay, we can get behind it. That to me is a great motivator.
Well, I think your business is something that's been needed for a long time. And it obviously is more well suited for club programs because they have the money to work with and they have the time to interview and the resources to interview lots of applicants if it's a good program. And that's how you get good applicants. Schools and colleges, a little bit different, though, as you pointed out.
Yeah, here's what I'm trying to do with the high school situation. I want to try to get coaches' resumes in my database and then go to the Athletic Directors Association and say, one of the hardest jobs to fill is swimming coach. I've got a database of 300 coaches certified in all sorts of different things, and they're all sorts of different levels. You come to me and say, I want a good coach. He doesn't have to be the best, but I want a good coach and he needs to be certified in English. Or I've only got one spot and it's biology. I'll find you a biology guy. And that way, working with the athletic directors to help them do their job better. Another thing that we're looking to do is to get a newsletter for boards of directors to just, from a non-biased viewpoint of just educating them as we build our name in the swimming school, boards and teams, understanding that we're non-biased. We'll give them a newsletter on best practices and put them out once a month that's designed to educate boards on swimming, raise that level of education. Because in talking with a lot of different boards that I have talked with, they're great people. They're very energetic. They love their kids. They're learning about swimming. They may be a lawyer, a dentist, a financier. They don't really know swimming, but they know business. And so let me help educate them on the swimming end of it so that they understand and can do their jobs better.
Talking about high school jobs, Bob's got a great blog. It's called texasswimming.blogspot.com. And he just put out a June jobs update, came out actually today. I'm looking at, it looks like 3
there's
dozen.
over 30 jobs.
I was going to say close to 3 dozen. If you go to the Texas Swimming blog, again, that's Texas Swimming, no spaces, .blogspot.com. There's at least 30 jobs in there, a lot of head coaches. We also have, there's club coaches, there's city jobs. Look, it's a tremendous list. Bob, thanks for putting all that together.
If you forget all that other stuff, just texasswim.org will take you there too.
And this is the time to be looking for jobs.
There's a lot out there.
They may be looking for someone that's got a WSI, and that may be all they can find if they wait too long.
Yeah, you're right.
Might be down to someone with a pulse.
So yeah,
we
that's
know
what
a
I'm
couple
trying
of
to do
those.
is to help the kids by getting real coaches where they need to be. And that's kind of what our objective is. And ultimately, it's all about the kids.
Organizations come to you, Pat, in a headhunter role. Do you go in the reverse direction? Do coaches contact you and say, hey, can I send my resume? I'm looking for a job. Can you help me find a job?
Absolutely. It happens both ways. When they contact me, I have a form I send them that gives us a lot of data about them and where their interests are and what parts of the country they would work in, what parts of the country they wouldn't work in, if they would go overseas, because eventually we're going to be doing this not just in the U.S., but overseas as well. It's about learning more about the people who send me stuff, and then we keep them in a database. And that's one of the things we do when we get these new jobs. First thing we do is we go through our database and call out coaches that we think would be good for it, contact them. They send their stuff to us. We're getting them. Then we blast email it out to different places. And then we also have it advertised. And then we get a wide range of people from a lot of different ways. And then we're able to start using our process. And through the process, the right person rises to the top. It happens every time. It's amazing. It's been great catching up with you two very dear friends of mine who I think the world of. And,
awesome.
We talk about swimming. Heck, we could talk for 2 hours.
And we will. We will again, won't we?
Yeah, we probably will.
Pat, thanks so much for spending the afternoon with us. Again, if you want to get in touch with Patrick Henry and his business, Swim Coach Staffing Solutions, you can reach him at that email address, Swim Coach Staffing Solutions, no spaces, at yahoo.com. That's Swim Coach Staffing Solutions at yahoo.com. And you can just Google Texas Swimming blog, and you'll probably get a redirect to Bob's site, which has fantastic job listing right now. I would jump on them in a hurry because they may not last.
When you go to Google and you type in Swim Coach ST, that's when Swim Coach Staffing Solutions auto completes for you. So, nice. Yes, Pat, you're up there with your LinkedIn link and all that stuff. So,
we work really hard. We're very prompt. We're very professional, and people like that. And so they like doing business with us, and they tell other people about us. And that's literally how we've gotten stuff all over the country. One quick thing to add in, I will say the first time I ever really did a temporary coaching position situation was I brought Bob Button in a temporary situation to help me out in Great Britain.
Yeah.
And he would
I
drive
forgot all about that.
I was shorthanded and I needed him for a period of time, and he came up and he did a great job.
Yes,
and
he did.
A lot of fun.
But it was great. I really enjoyed your kids and your assistant coach. You had a neat little program set up to anybody could have just stepped right in and done it. It was on autopilot already.
It was a lot of fun. But that was kind of where I started putting all some of these things together. So thanks, Bob.
Hey, you bet.
We hope you've enjoyed part 2 of our second interview with Patrick Henry as he takes us on an exploratory hike and introduction to his coaching headhunter business, Swim Coach Staffing Solutions. If you've got a guest or topic you would like us to take a look at, email us at swimtalk@outlook.com. That's swimtalk, one word, @outlook.com, and make your pitch. We promise to consider it as soon as we get through with lunch. In the meantime, y'all come back and visit us again, you hear?